from the Energy Boutique with your energy and ascension forecast for Sunday, December 22nd to Saturday, December 28th. Okay, here we go. Last week, we had the full moon in Gemini pop off, and then hours later, Mercury, who ruled over that full moon in Gemini, went direct in Sagittarius energy after 3 weeks-ish of being retrograde. That was a major, major breakdown in our thoughts, our ideas, and our emotions. We definitely had situations pop off, really rattle us to our core. Many people had an emotional breakdown, an emotional outburst, because again, we're reaching a very important tipping point. Now, the full moon in Gemini, again, pressurized the headspace, really put us in a situation where we really didn't know if we could continue doing what it is that we have been doing. Mercury, of course, shifting out of that retrograde and stationing direct, jolted that mental plane, jolted our emotions, and overall just messed with our energy. It's been a week. It's been a week of trying to stabilize. It's been a week of questioning. It's been a week of just trying to maintain our own damn selves, to do what we got to do to push on and push forward. Of course, it's been a week of accelerated events, accelerated energies, because we've been building towards the solstice energy that, if you're here in the chat Friday evening, first of all, thanks for being here. But secondly, we are on the cusp, on the precipice of moving into the solstice energy. We have the sun at the 29th critical crisis degree of the Sagittarius energy. We will be moving into Capricorn energy early on the morning of the 21st. And of course, that kicks off the solstice, the 3 days of darkness, the sun basically being hung on the coordinate cross of the celestial longitude latitude, where it is going to sit, not move an inch, for 3 days, and then essentially be reborn again on the morning of the 25th. That's where a lot of the traditions come from, a lot of the mythologies come from, a lot of the biblical text comes from. Not going to get into a whole hell of a lot of that. If you're interested in those topics and themes, first of all, there is a public astro forecast that I kind of touched on some of these events that you can listen here on YouTube or on Spotify or on my Patreon. And if you really want to do a deep dive, I have an hour-long podcast over on my Patreon, available to Patreon members or on pay-per-view, that goes into the rabbit holes of what this holiday season is all about, what the solstice is all about, where the Bible kind of overlaps astrology, all of those wonderful things. If you're interested, please do a deep dive. But technically speaking, this is taking place here tomorrow on the 21st, which means that we are in this very turbulent energy. And there's a lot of triggers and activations, putting a lot of people in a funk, because of course, that is the programming, that is the agenda of the dark force programming, to keep us in the lowest vibrations and frequencies as we move through these high potency, high energetic gateways and portals, such as the solstice and the equinox and all of those lovely things. This is the time of season change. This is the time of energy change. This is the time of karmic change. And they are definitely doubling down on trying to evoke fear and confusion and delusion and anger and restlessness in the collective. We're going to rant about that here in a second once I get going here, because of course they don't want us on the highest vibe possible or available to us, locking that particular energy in for this last quarter of the zodiac wheel. So we have a lot to unpack. Now, what do we got going on this week? Well, we kicked this week off with the solstice energy, with Capricorn season, with the 3 days of darkness. We scoot all the way into having the last quarter moon in Libra energy, nonetheless, take place on the 22nd, in the middle of these 3 days of darkness. And this is going to be a pretty disorienting week. A lot of that is because of this holiday season, that this late stage capitalism type of situation has definitely shoved down our throats. And we are going to be discombobulated all over the place. This is the last week that Chiron, the wounded healer, is going to be retrograde, and we are essentially going to be building towards the new moon in Capricorn that's going to be taking place on the 30th. So we definitely have a week coming at us. It's going to be a bumpy start because, again, the dark force entities are out in full force trying to keep the vibrations, the frequencies low as we move through this particular gateway. And just because we do have energetic forecasts of a lot of not so nice interactions, a lot of not so nice astrology taking place, may I also just remind you that we are in a testing period. We are in the final days of 2024, which is the year of 8, which is about whether or not we have the power and control over our mental plane, over our heart space, over our actions. And so we are going to be bombarded with low vibrations and frequencies, trying to push us into those low vibrations and frequencies so that we can personally lock in those low vibrations and frequencies for this next karmic chapter. You need to override this programming, okay? You need to stay focused. You need to stay high vibe. You need to understand that this, matrix is coming for each and every single one of us, trying to keep us in a not so nice mood and attitude as we enter into this karmic shift, which means that we all need to buckle down. We need to see it for what it is, and we need to laugh in the face of these dark force energies in order for us to, again, keep the positive, confident energy at its peak potency, focusing in on our desired outcome, reminding ourselves that everything is all well in the world because, again, it actually is. And you're going to say, the world looks cray-cray, the world is heavy, the world is weighted. Yep, we're in a program. This is, how else would you test a group of superhumans to see if they have the ability to override the matrix programming other than to put them in a level of the video game that is set to beat their asses down, okay? You don't enter into the last level of any video game with the big boss and think that it's an easy ride. And nor should you be kind of having that particular perspective with the week coming at us. We're about to wrap up 2024, guys. We're moving into a brand new year that is going to be even harder than this year was. And I'm not trying to fearmonger, but we're dealing with the vibration of 9. This is about wrapping things up. Okay? Endings are never fun. It is an absolute shit show. That's why we were gifted this whole freaking year to be tested in a way to see whether or not we have the power, we have the energy, we have the confidence to override this matrix programming. So I'm already kind of on a mini rant, as you could probably already tell. I do have some things that I got to cover on my homework list before I jump into kind of going too far down this particular rabbit hole. So let me just start off by saying thank you. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for liking, for sharing, for commenting. I actually even want to thank y'all that have abandoned YouTube to go to my Spotify or my Patreon for ad-free content. Okay, I want to thank those of you that have sent me monetary donations, love and support in my channel in, let's call it, thanks and gratitude for me, again, providing ad-free content on other platforms. Am I completely abandoning YouTube? No, but at the same time, change is upon us, my friends. And after what I'm about to talk about here in my rant, I would not be surprised if YouTube shut me down, okay? I have some big things that I want to talk about, some major keywords that I'm not supposed to say online that I am going to be spitting. I'm going to be saying it with a high volume just to make sure that the people in the back can hear me, okay? So who knows what's going to happen to my YouTube channel after this. This is the final hurrah as far as I'm concerned, and I'm about to be spitting some truth, and it's probably going to hurt YouTube's feelings. And I really don't care, okay? I have other platforms that you can follow me on, so should you never see another video of mine pop up on your YouTube notifications, please find me elsewhere because I'm not going anywhere. Okay, let's make that just clear. To those of you that have jumped over to my Patreon, taking advantage of that membership deal that I got going on, that is going to be ending here tomorrow on the 21st. So I would definitely recommend, if you want 50% off this membership, kind of test out what we got going on here. It'd be a great time for you to do it. I have a 2025 workshop coming at you here, January 1st. I have zodiac forecasts. I have manifesting guides. I have 2025 manifesting guides. I have moon guides. I have all kinds of stuff coming at you, this would be the prime time to jump over to sample what it's like to be a part of my Patreon community and access all of that VIP content. Another thing that I want to talk about, my calendar for January, for February is going to go live, going to be available to the public tomorrow on the 21st. My Patreon VIPs have had almost a week. I kind of shortchanged them a little bit. My bad. Super overwhelmed with all the things I got going on here. So I did kind of shortchange you. I was hoping to give my VIPs a whole week to access those appointment times before it went public, but a couple days short of a week, but they've had their chance. And so it is going public. I do not expect for my appointments to last very long. That's just the way that it's been going. I thank you so much for the love and support. Wanted to kind of let y'all know, especially those of them that have been emailing me trying to reserve spots. We don't do reservations around here. However, I'm giving you a heads up. Tomorrow, when it goes live, jump on it. Do not waste time because, again, I will not be updating my March-April appointments until pretty much the end of January. So if you want to get any kind of insight for the year ahead, for January, for, to understand yourself better, to understand your mission, whatever it is that needs to be done in 2025, please seg yourself a spot. Again, got the January energy guides coming at you here very soon. The new moon in Capricorn, we're going to do a whole manifesting event around. That's going to be a banger. 2025 year ahead workshop that I have scheduled for January 1st. It is going to be something that eventually, if you're not a Patreon member, that you can actually join that course and download the attachments and kind of walk through it with us as a pay-per-view. But of course, you're going to get your bang in your buck, if you will, if you become a VIP on my Patreon. So you may as well do just that. You definitely have to invest in yourself. We're moving into a very turbulent year. It's going to be something that you're going to need community. You're going to need alignment. You're going to need those heads up in order to stay ahead of the game so that you can roll instead of being dragged. So all of those things are coming at you. Again, just wanted to let you know that I have, this is my busiest time. This is like work. But at the same time, it is setting us all up to be in alignment to not get dragged down with a lot of the things that, of course, dark force energies have coming at us. So my goal is to basically have us all holding hands, walking through 2025 without feeling alone, without feeling like we're on this quote unquote individual path. Yes, we're all on individual paths, but we're doing it together. And I'm going to try and keep all of us ahead of the game with these energies, with this insight. And again, just recommend that you jump over, that you become a part of the community. Nobody has to go this alone. Okay, so I'm about to talk about some shit here, okay? Buckle in and buckle down. And again, I'm not even going to try and be super cryptic because I'm tired of jumping through hoops and loops with this GD. I'm going to try not to swear because I am a little bit of a sailor, a little bit of a trucker mouth. But with YouTube, I'm pretty much done. Okay, so let's kick off 2024. Well, let's kick off the ending of 2024 with an absolute banger of a rant. Starting with this drone, orb, alien, biblical prophecy bullshit, because that's what it is. I had somebody comment on my channel not too long ago, and I thank you so much for this. This is like the biggest compliment ever. They said, with all the other creators out on the social platforms just absolutely going cray-cray and creating a lot of fear and a lot of hype, that they found a lot of sanity in my forecast because I'm just over here doing the same old shit, right? I don't know what everybody's getting excited about, to be quite honest. I see it on my social media platforms, people freaking out about the drones and the orbs and, oh my God, what is this in the sky? And the aliens are coming and the biblical prophecy is being fulfilled and the Vatican opening up the 5 portals and the Lucifer tomb. Oh my goodness. Okay. So one thing I will say is I love TikTok. I think TikTok is, kind of the tool that allowed the world to communicate, even though, we had YouTube, we had Facebook, we had Instagram or whatever. TikTok is like a different level of, sharing the world with other people. But I also think as good as it is, just like everything else, it has good points, it has bad points. I also think it's an absolute cesspool of fear-mongering. Some of the psychics on there and the tarot readers and the astrologers and the channelers are just absolutely tapped into this dark force entity, thinking that they're communicating with the higher realms of intelligence, and it does not take a smart person to figure out that they are channeling really bad things. And I don't know why they don't see this, but whatever. We're all walking our own path. They're going to learn the hard way, but whatever. I honestly think that, I know that there's a whole TikTok ban supposedly coming to the US unless Mr. Trump does something about it. But at the same time, they're all part of the same system. You have to understand that first and foremost. Secondary to that, I'm going to say the bad part is that it's creating spiritual psychosis. And I truly believe that a lot of these, again, psychics and astrologers and channelers and everything else, that they are semi-responsible for creating the state of spiritual psychosis that we are currently seeing people in. I had some, I'm not naming any names, but I had this, and she's a channeler. She believes that she's channeling God. She believes that she's channeling the highest form of intelligence possible. And she also believes that she's in communication with the Palladians and with the Syrians and with all these other, races, because that's what people do. Okay, no. First of all, we are in a closed system, a closed planet that is run by the dark force entities. Okay. Yes, there is a creator God. Yes, there is a higher form of intelligence. Yes, there is a Christ consciousness. Yes, there is love and light. There is all kinds of good. The fact of the matter is most people that claim to be psychics, astrologers, and channelers, they are not tapping into that energy. And for those that are in a relationship with the highest source, you can see it very clearly. And so I had this person pop up on my, social media, and she said, I contacted my spirit guides, and I contacted the Federation of, the Galactics, and I contacted my spirit guide from Pleiades to ask them about these drones, and they said 100% that it is extraterrestrial. Well, you just lost me, okay? You just lost me. Let me be very clear. The drones that we are seeing in the sky, and you're going to come at me and say, well, how do you know? Well, first of all, I have discernment. Second of all, I have a very strong relationship with the divine creator. Okay. And you're going to say, well, that other person thinks that they have a relationship with the divine creator. Okay. Well, that's cool. We all have our own truth. We all have our own path. Let me say what I have to say. And again, it's up to you to use your own brain, to use your own intuition. Okay. Just to see how it sits with you. These drones, they're man-made, okay? They're not alien intelligence. They are and again, this may be the last time that you hear of me on YouTube because I'm about to say some shit that's going to be in trouble, and I know it. Anyways, I'm saying it. The drones that you are seeing, the government knows what's up. They're man-made. They are a classified prototype of man, our government's attempt to replicate what they think is alien technology. If it were alien technology, first of all, we wouldn't be able to see it because alien technology is a higher vibration, a higher frequency that our visible eyes, okay, our real tangible eyeballs cannot perceive. It is outside of the light spectrum, okay. So you're going to say, well, there's been UFO sightings. Okay, sure. How do you know that they're actually extraterrestrial? Yes, there are glitches in the matrix. Yes, there are options and opportunities in a high electrical field where the transparency, the cloaking, and I'm not talking about mysticism here. Our own government has cloaking technical abilities. They've done it on our own things, okay? Yes, there are instances in which there could be some sort of extraterrestrial sighting. I truly believe that it is a very small number. I truly believe that any type of life form outside of our life form is of such a high intelligence, such a higher vibration and frequency that our physical senses would not be able to feel it, smell it, hear it, touch it, okay? Let me be very clear. The quote-unquote aliens, or ETs, if you will, they don't need us to see them. They also do not need us to like them, to care about them. If they wanted to invade us or take over, they could literally just send a vibrational wave, if you will, to knock out all of our technology and mess up the frequencies of our brain. It would just be like the Men in Black little, pen thingy that they hit in order to wipe our brains out. It would be like that. They have no want, need, or desire to show themselves. They don't have to. So all of the drones that we're seeing are man-made. All of the government saying, oh, well, we don't really know what that is. That's bullshit, okay? We have the highest form of military operations in each and every single first world countries. You best believe they know what's going on in the air. They know what's going on under the earth. They know what's going on in our transportation. They know what's going on in our communications. If you think for 2 freaking seconds, okay, that they don't know what's going on, then my goodness, you gotta restart your brain. So then you're going to say, okay, well, what's the purpose of them? Well, first of all, Project Bluebeam. Okay, we've known that the government is going to be setting up a situation to fake an alien invasion in order for them to have our permission to form a one world government, one world alliance in order to quote unquote protect humanity and quote unquote fight the aliens. All of this is a one world, new world order government ploy. These drones are surveillance. They are setting us up once again for, I'm not going to say a similar lockdown situation, but we're getting pretty close to seeing, this next chapter of the movie that they're going to unleash. The drones are part and parcel of creating confusion, excitement, fear, delusion, having everybody have their own thoughts and opinions, which of course creates and furthers the divide. This is, as far as I'm concerned, laughable. So this is a surveillance program. Secondary to that, people are going to say, okay, well, what about these orbs? Again, these orbs that people are seeing are part of Project Bluebeam. Anything that we are seeing that looks mystical, that looks alien, that looks like a biblical prophecy is our shadow government doing this to us. There is no prophecy, there is a plan, okay? And please, Christians, please understand that there's a difference here. There's a script playing out. There is a 100% plan and script playing out by the evildoers in order to capitalize on people's faith in order for them to advance their one world government. Now then I'm going to have people say, well, there's been alien abductions. There's been real accounts of aliens. I'm not saying that aliens aren't real. I'm saying that we are the dumbest race ever invented. Yes, we are godlike beings that think that we are nothing. That makes us dumb. We are the densest light beings possible, meaning we have physical meat suits. We can't go anywhere. We can't do anything. Yes, when the DNA templates are actually healed and repaired, we might actually surprise ourselves with our superhuman abilities. But at this particular juncture, we are merely ants in an ant form to them. They do not care about us, other than the fact that they need to protect us from killing each other, from blowing each other up, because our blood, that is little tiny bits and pieces of all other star seed origins, all other alien life origins that are alive and well with us, our DNA is dormant. This is what this ascension process is about, is absorbing enough electricity, light codes from the solar, ascension process, because the sun is going through its own solar cycle. This is what it's all about, is activating the dormant parts of DNA that when they're activated, when we've done the work within ourselves, that we can bring the creator abilities online and essentially step into the superhuman abilities that we all have. that we use them correctly and that we don't use them against ourselves, that we don't use them against each other, and basically bring ourselves to a quote unquote death point like Lemuria, like Atlantis. Okay. We had high forms of intelligence and we chose to use it in evil ways. And other than the investment that other, let's call them alien life form origins, have in keeping us alive, because when we evolve, when we grow, when we activate, that allows them in their home seed origins to evolve, to grow, to kind of move on. You know, a lot of the talk here, and this is probably, again, I'm like semi-nervous that this shit is not something that I should be talking about on YouTube. I usually would keep this for my private podcast, but I'm a true believer that the grays are us in a futuristic life form that ruin themselves, that are coming back in order to test to a certain extent where it is that they went wrong and try to rewrite that timeline. You're going to say, well, there's bad grays, like grays are bad. Okay, well, humans are pretty awful. Take a look around. There is good and bad of every single, I'm going to call it origin, every single species. It comes down to the power, the wisdom, the knowledge, and what you use it for, good or evil. And here's the thing. Yes, alien abductions have happened. Are they the actual aliens? No. Those little beings that everybody wants to describe, they are no different than the iRobots that us humans are building in order to be an intermediary between us and the things that we don't want to do. Those little beings that we consider to be aliens are the avatars that the actual quote unquote ETs or aliens have created, because we as human beings, we cannot be in the presence of their energy. We are not, with our five senses, able to see them, able to touch them, able to hear them, to smell them. I hate to say taste because that's a little bit weird, but we'll throw that in there too. The thing about it is that we are all doing the exact same damn thing at the exact same time, looking at each other as we are different. We're not. We as humans think that we are super smart. We're not. We are building this artificial intelligence, these robots, which, guess what? We are the artificial intelligence. We are the robots. And if we want to talk about, you know, another starseed origin, why wouldn't they do the same thing? Do you really think that they are just going to show up real, raw, and authentic and decloak themselves and have us stand there not being able to do what would need to be done in the presence of that kind of energy and watch our brains explode? No, they don't want that for us. That's not the outcome in which they are looking for. And then I'm going to have people say, well, aliens are demons. Okay, well, let me just tell you this. The earth plane is the only plane which religion was built and was created. Religion is going to be the death of humanity, okay? None of the gods and any of the religions that exist here on this earth plane are right. They are not true. They are not real. Does that mean I don't believe in God? Absolutely not. But the dogma, the division, the polarity, the duality of angels versus demons, that is a fabrication that the human mind has made up. And again, I really shouldn't be talking about this stuff on YouTube. However, you know, people want to lose their minds. They want to talk about this. They want to go crazy. They want to debate this. I honestly don't know what the problem is. If I go out right now and there's 40 drones over my house, I would wave to them as I have a puff, probably give them the finger, because that is our people. That is our technology. That is their attempt to surveil all of us. And for those of you saying, oh my goodness, well, they can't keep drones in the sky. Yes, they can. Look at Starlink. What do you think that's all about? Right? Okay. We've given permission to have the best internet anywheres in the world. Sure, send all of these quote unquote satellites up in quote unquote space. Again, we are just ill-informed. We are, I'm going to say, not educated at all. And I just really don't understand the hype. I've watched people on my social media go out and video the night sky and all these moving things and create anxiety and fear around them. And I just don't understand why people can't mind their own damn business, just create happiness and joy in their life. Let whatever happens in the sky, just let it happen, okay? When there is an actual alien event, which there will never be, because again, our physical senses cannot perceive the type of life form in which they are. They are a different life form than us. There is no ascension process available to our human construct that will ever make our eyes be able to perceive them, make our ears be able to hear them, make our brains be able to actually not implode under the presence of them. Our physical bodies cannot take being in the presence of those particular life forms. Just as, and here's another controversial topic that I'm sure is going to get me a lot of friends. The whole angel and demon concept is kind of the same thing. The angel and demon concept is a manifestation out of this religious dogma, if you will. And again, if you know what an egregore is, when so many people believe in one thing at a time, this is the perfect season to talk about this. Santa Claus, okay? So in the movie Elf, when Santa's sleigh is grounded in New York there, and it's funny that they chose New York because New York is literally like the hellhole, the abyss of this earth planet with the lower vibrations and frequencies that could ever exist on this earth plane. Anyways, I digress. In that movie, they needed everybody to sing. They needed everybody in unison, focused on happiness and joy and the magic of Christmas in order for that damn sleigh to actually get up and get moving, okay? That's an egregore. When you do a, let's call it collective meditation, and you have a group of people all focused on one particular outcome, that gives a lot of power, because what we focus our time, energy, and attention on, especially in our mental plane, because this is a holographic projection of a, let's call it psychological operation, because that's what life is. When you have a group of people focused on the same thing, that gives the outcome power. You're able to do a lot when you have a concentrated level of concentration, focus, hope, wishes, and dreams in one particular avenue, in one particular, group. So when the angel concept comes, everybody wants to think, oh, angels, they're so, happy and they love us and they're here to protect us and all of these lovely things. Well, first of all, it is the belief of the general collective and population that actually make angelic frequencies and vibrations true. Yes, there are beings from higher realms and higher vibrations that are closer to God, like Christ consciousness or God, creator, source energy. Yes, for sure. But they are not the angels that we have been kind of conditioned to believe. Let me just remind you, angels are warriors of God. For God. They don't care about your feelings. They don't have the ability to feel. They do not have free will. They have no choice. Whatever needs to happen in the fabric of fate and destiny, that needs to happen. Doesn't matter who it hurts. Doesn't matter what has to be destroyed. They are warriors, if nothing else. And so again, for people that have been with me for a while, you all know kind of how I feel about angels and demons. Demons are again, egregore, where fear, doubt, insecurity, confusion lead to such a group of people believing in such things, being fearful in such things, that electrical charges can happen when you are close to a ley line to actually produce what people would call supernatural events. So again, in this earth system, this is the only place where religion actually exists, and that religion was created by the evildoer in the Bible that have tricked people into worshiping him as God, when realistically it is Satan, it is the Lord of the devil's playground, which is the earth plane. Again, the earth plane is an opportunity for us to experience the highest form of hell and the lowest form of heaven. And that all depends on your vibration and frequency, and that all stems from your mindset, your belief system. If for some reason we had the men in black swoop in and do that little, memory flash wipey outy thingy to every single one of us and remove dogma, remove religion, remove the division of angels versus demons, my God's better than your God, monotheistic God, versus gods and goddesses, all of these things. If suddenly there was just a flash and it removed any type of religious context from this world, we would all be in a better place. I 100% believe that. And I do believe that religion, A, is still responsible for all of the hate, all of the conflict, all of the wars in this world. And B, will be the end of humanity as we know it whenever we actually get there. It is going to be over whose God is better or more important, or the true God over somebody else's other God. And that is just the saddest thing that I think that we should all really be aware of, because we have the ability to, again, dissolve those beliefs. We have Saturn in this Pisces energy trying to dissolve the old religious construct, the old dogma, the old cultural beliefs, our own personal beliefs. And this is why this particular point in time has been as, I'm going to say, delusion and confusion ridden as possible, because that's the name of the game. You have to trust your intuition. You have to trust your relationship with the quote unquote God creator that you believe is all loving, is all unifying, is, encouraging and supporting. And a lot of the quote unquote gods that people are creating wars and conflict over, they aren't really of the highest vibration and frequency. And so people wanted to know what I thought or how I felt about these drones, about these orbs, about these aliens, about this prophecy. That's how I feel. Mind your business, stay in your lane, focus on your damn self, create happiness and joy in every single day. Keep your mind clean, keep your heart clean, keep your actions clean. Do what you need to do to create heaven on earth. That is the goal. That is the goal. That is the mission. That is the purpose. And when we all wake up from this dreamlike state, because this, again, is nothing but a holographic projection of the psychological operation that we all chose to be a part of in order to evolve and grow the collective humanity's consciousness in the right path, in the right direction. Because again, we have never been this far in the video game. As such, we've done this, I think we're on the 6th time now. We haven't gotten this far. This is an experiment. We are in a petri dish, and we are at a very interesting point in time, not only in the calendar, but in our evolution. And as far as the drones and the orbs and the aliens and the prophecy goes, we got to forget about it. We got to focus on our own damn selves. We got to focus on happiness. We got to focus on joy. We have to focus on creating heaven on earth, which is the happiest place that we could possibly find ourselves. So, with all of that being said, why is this happening right now? Well, let me just remind you, we are shifting out of a 25,000 year phase of the earth into a new 25,000 year phase. We are entering into I'm going to call it, there's microcycles, and then there's microcycles and macrocycles. The macro is that, 25,000. Smaller than that, 2,100. Smaller than that, 248 years. Smaller than that, 144. Smaller than that, 84. And this, again, is all kind of documented with the planetary aspects, with the chapters of the ages, Stone Age into the Ice Age, all of these things. Yes, they're all physical in nature that I just rattled off, but if you look at the evolution of astrology and where our ancestors followed it, where the Mayans created the calendar in order for all of us to follow it, we are essentially at this very pivotal point of an adjustment period, and adjustment periods never feel fun. Now, talking about an adjustment period, we have a very intense year coming at us. And it is a year of 9, and it is a year of endings and closures. It's a year of wrapping things up. And we don't do well when we're at the end of something, right? We don't do well when we're at the beginning of something, and that's going to be 2026 for us. And 2025 essentially is weaving two very different chapters together so that there's this natural segue. Now, for all of you crafters out there, knitters specifically, when you're making a blanket, you're crocheting something, knitting something, quilting something, whatever, you have this beautiful square and it's perfect. but you have all of these other squares that need to come together. They need to be sewn together in order to make this blanket, right? The adjustment that needs to happen in order to make those squares seamless so that you don't look at it and see 20 individual squares and instead you just see one blanket. That's essentially what we're doing here. We are taking the squares, we're piecing them together, and we're having to thread, sew, knit, crochet, whatever the case may be, the squares together in a seamless way so that we don't see where the divide actually is. And that is no easy feat, okay? And if you know or talk to any kind of crafter, you would know that sometimes they spend all this time to patch all of these individual squares together, attempting to make a big blanket. And then they step back and they look at it and they themselves, they know where the overlap is. They know the one piece of thread that is attaching those squares together. They can see it. And many of them will unravel it and start over because they can see the individual squares. They can't see just that one big blanket. Anyone else that they may be gifting that blanket to, they just look at it like, holy shit, this is an amazing blanket. Thank you so much. They don't see the, let's say, energy and effort that went into creating those little tiny squares and segmenting them together with those other squares in order to create the great big blanket. That's what we're doing right now. That's what we will be doing in 2025 and into 2026. And if you've been with me for any amount of time, you would know that I've been saying 2026 and 2027 is when shit is hitting the fan. And for those people that are like, oh my goodness, since 2020, like this is too much. When are we going to get a break? May I just say to you that if you had your spiritual awakening in 2020, that you are super lucky because there are OGs walking this planet that have like way more time being put into the spiritual awakening than just 2020. That's only been 4 years. I personally, I'm on like a 16-year cycle. There are people that have been doing this for 20 years, 50 years, 60 years. There's some people, starseeds, that were, awakened right out the womb, spending their whole life alone, spending their whole life seeing what some people are just starting to see right now. And so that's not meant to fearmonger. That's not to suck the life and the hope and the hopefulness out of it. That's being real. We are just entering into this, let's call it, age of adjustment, and it's not going to be easy. So with that being said, that's why they're throwing the drones and the orbs and the aliens and the prophecy at us, because we're going through the Solstice Gateway, literally here tomorrow on the 21st. This is the first year in 16 years that Pluto, the great transformer, is not in Capricorn energy. This is our first solstice in 16 years that the god of the underworld, who rules over death and destruction, isn't breathing down our freaking neck. Okay, he's in Aquarius energy right now, figuring out how to change, how to transform for the better, how to make these improvements, how to make these, let's call it, evolutionary moves that's going to make the mess that we just created over the last 16 years not look as bad as it currently looks. And we're not even done yet. So we have that going for us. But, every single year we are gifted with the same opportunity to override this dark matrix programming. Every single year that we have a timeline jump, every single year that we have the ability to move into a new karmic chapter, they come out with some foolish shit to keep people in a state of disarray, to keep people in a state of confusion, delusion, and just fear-mongering. And the whole point is that they don't want us to evolve. They don't want us to grow in our awareness, in our consciousness, in our vibration and frequency, because that would mean that this earthly playground, the devil's playground that they have had full rulership over, would be no more. And it is a very scary place for them at this particular juncture, knowing how many people are online, knowing how many people are able to override this matrix programming. And so I thought it was super interesting, as I do, because I just sit back and I watch the world events just kind of pop off in a way that, astrologically speaking and spiritually speaking, most people have been waiting for years and years and years. And it just shouldn't surprise me anymore, but it does, that people fall for this absolute just silly script that they have written into this real-time movie. Like, it's just bizarre to me. Anyways, I'm just checking the time, and I've spent the bulk of this particular forecast just ranting and raving, which I know some of you enjoy, but I have yet to even talk about any of the ascension energies that are coming at us. And let me just remind you, this ascension thing is kind of a little bit, I'm going to say, of a psychological operation as well. I think they have full ownership and full, let's call it, ability to manipulate the Schumann resonance at the same time. And again, this is why, I used to post a lot about the Schumann resonance, and I used to get right excited when we reach new levels on the Schumann resonance. But I also think I'm starting to become a little bit more privy to the fact, especially a couple of years ago when there was wackadoodle patterns on that Schumann resonance aligning with some not so nice gateways. It dawned on me, which, awakening, aha moment. They have the ability to be messing with us in that regard as well. They mess with us in every other area. Why wouldn't they take that opportunity to mess with us as well? And again, this is why I, kind of encourage you to break away from mainstream media, break away from the tools of measurement, such as the Schumann resonance, break away from tools. I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm not saying that they're satanic or anything of the sort, but like tarot cards and all of this kind of stuff, those are just tools in order for you to get comfortable with your God-like supernatural, superhuman abilities. To a certain extent in your spiritual journey, you will no longer need these tools or resources in order to answer the questions that you already have the answers to within you. And when you have a true alignment, a true relationship with God's source, with Christ consciousness, with the actual good energy, the creator energy, that again, very few people are actually channeling at this particular juncture, which is just scary as shit to think that all of these people out there think that they're communing with the higher realms of intelligence when it is very clear that they are talking to lower level entities. Because again, Earth is a closed system. So again, you're only able to access what they want you to access. And if you're not finding that answer within yourself and you're finding it externally, it's probably tainted in some kind of way. We're moving through this particular time. This is going to be the last year. May I also just say this? This is a high time of triggers and activations, okay? And let me just say, if you're a spiritual and awakened person and you're absolutely dreading the holidays and you're dreading being around your family, may I just invite you to ask yourself, are you really healed, or are you just isolated so that you can't be triggered? We all get triggered and activated by our families. They know how to press the buttons. Why do they know how to press the buttons? Well, because they installed them in us. May I just invite you to be the enlightened individual? May I just remind you that they are extensions of the programming that you, your higher self, created in order to mirror back to you what you need to be addressing within yourself. May I also remind you that this is going to be the last year that your family is going to look like the family in which you are currently viewing it. Okay, this is going to be the last year that some family members are going to be sitting around that table, that you're going to have the opportunity to be, I'm going to say, triggered or activated by some people around that table, around that tree, whatever the case may be. The familial structure, Saturn is in Pisces, closing out a 30-year chapter. There's going to be, and has been, huge waves of souls returning to home, to source, leaving this earth plane. Please, 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 I don't care what situation, what circumstance you're in, if you are on the spiritual path, I challenge you to welcome all of the friction, all of the tension, all of the dysfunction, because this may be the last time, the last year that you will ever have the opportunity, the possibility to sit in this particular familial situation, in these traditions, in this particular construct. I do not mean that as fear-mongering. I do not mean to create a sense of sadness. I'm just being real with you. This time next year, pretty much everything is going to be different, starting with the familial structure, starting with who we share time, energy, and space with, and how we do that. And so I welcome you to just sit back and observe the movie playing out that your higher self wrote for you, to have a deeper appreciation for the familial construct that you needed to be born into in order to rise up out of the pain and trauma of that generational cycle, in order to actually see yourself as the vibrational frequency that you are trying to embody here on this earth plane. That, of course, very challenging to do so because we all have egos. That's what this physical meat suit is all about. We need to have a deeper appreciation for this physical meat suit, for this ego avatar. and for the people, places, and things that keep us humble, keep us in check. So I'm really going to invite you, even though you are dreading, which I am, okay? I'm not speaking from my high horse. I'm not throwing stones from my glass house here. I am dreading this holiday. I am dreading the familial interaction. I am dreading it. But at the same time, I also have the greater, grander insight that this is going to be the last year for a lot of this. And I am trying to have a deeper appreciation and give a little bit more leeway and not be as triggered and activated as I would normally be, because everything is going to be different this time next year. And if you have the insight in order to understand that, your whole mood, vibration, frequency is going to change. It's going to be a lot more tolerable, having the kind of insight that you need to have to understand that this is the last hurrah. Okay? That's all I'm going to say about that. Okay, let me just spend a couple of minutes here, and I mean just a couple, talking about some of the physical aspects that we can expect to kind of feel this week. So first of all, it's going to feel heavy. It's going to feel weighted, yes, in our physical bodies, yes, in our mental plane, yes, emotionally speaking. Why? Well, because we're in Capricorn season. Capricorn season is an earth sign. We're very connected to the physical form, to our physical bodies, to our physical environments. Capricorn energy ruled over by Saturn. He is like the militant grandfather. Yes, he loves us, but he's going to push us in ways that we do not want to be pushed. Capricorn energy rules over the foundation, the structure of this matrix form, and also of the skeletal system in our physical form. Thus, there's going to be aches and pains on the physical front that we just cannot shake or cannot kind of remedy right away. We are going to have aches and pains and popping, rigidity in our movements. It's going to feel like we're all seized up. Again, this doesn't mean to curl up in a ball and to cry yourself, through these particular aches and pains. This is your invitation to tap into the wisdom and knowledge that you should have accumulated by now, and do all of the things that raise your vibration and frequency and open your meridian and energetic channels in your physical body in order to move that energy in a favorable way. Again, we do not sit around and be like, oh, the energy for the day is supposed to be shit, so I'm going to be shit. No, that's not what we're supposed to be doing here. Once you know better, you need to do better. And if you have a heads up that we have triggers and activations coming, then you need to be on your best game in order to override those triggers and activations. That's what the purpose is. That's the stage of the game that we're at. That's the level of the video game that we're at. We, again, don't go into the last level of a video game and meet up with that big bad boss and think that this is a cakewalk. That's not how it works. You have to fight your ass off in order to override, in order to beat, in order to actually succeed in beating that late level boss. Okay? So the physical body, gonna be hard moving. Again, we're in a very, very intense testing period. This is not the end of the year. Okay, yes, it's the year at the end of the Julian calendar year, meaning 2024 is coming to an end. But Capricorn season, we're entering into the last quarter. From Capricorn season until the final days of Pisces season, we're in an ending and closure phase. Okay, the endings that are coming, the testing that is coming, the exam period that is coming is due to the vibration of the year changing. And that vibration of 8 has been a heavy, heavy testing period in order for us to, again, walk the walk, talk the talk, override those dark force energies in order for us to gain power and control over our mental plane, over our heart space, over our actions, over our overall energy, so that we can activate the creator abilities that allow us to literally manifest the reality of our dreams. No joke. It's a real thing. Get into it. So, yes, we're going to be tested, especially with familial triggers and activations. May I also remind you, Mars is retrograde, so that definitely has us restless. It has us agitated. It has us sitting on the sidelines when we would kind of prefer to be in the game. May I also remind you, moving into the new year, Mars is going to be retrograding back into the Cancer energy that we were sitting in November. That Cancer energy is about the inner child, is about the familial generational power and trauma passed down in our blood, because oftentimes we just focus on the trauma that's kept passed down. We don't really talk about the power that gets passed down from our ancestors as well, which we probably should. We are going to be going through this holiday season with a lot of things triggering our heart space because we're in Leo energy. And the minute that we move into the new year and we get this, celebratory holiday behind us, our whole familial structure is going to be changing. And when Mars retrogrades back into that Cancer energy, and we have to sit our asses on the sidelines and really analyze where it is that the boundaries, the structure, the foundation of our familial structure needs to change, that's going to be an eye-awakening thing for us to be actively doing and pursuing throughout the course of 2025 in order to bring certain endings and closures into reality. So that, again, when we move into 2026 and we're gifted with the vibration of one and we can begin again and start building new earth, again, a lot of people are going to be removed from this earth plane in 2025. And that's why I say, even if your family gets on your nerves, even if they triggered the deepest, darkest parts and you have an appreciation, have a level of attitude and gratitude for them because they may not be here to do all of those things to you next year, okay? Not trying to fearmonger, just trying to keep it real. Here's a funny thing, okay? Here's a funny thing that I'm going to throw at you. December 25th, when, apparently baby Jesus was supposed to be born, even though if you know anything about the Bible, technically he was born September. However, side note, we're not getting into that right now. Even though we know what we know about the sun being quote unquote crucified on the longitude, latitude of the celestial scales and being kind of held there for the 3 days of darkness before he moves again early on the 25th. As we move into 2025, that's going to carry us in that forward motion as we start to rise again towards that Aries energy season where, again, spring equinox brings everything back to life and we start into a new astrological calendar. Did you know that the moon is going to be void of course as we enter into the 25th, into the final hours of those 3 days of darkness? And in the most comedic fashion possible, the moon will be in Scorpio energy on the 25th. I find that to be hilarious. Hilarious. Okay, so the feelings of feeling alone, the feelings of being in a group of people and still feeling alone, the feelings of being sad, the feelings of grief, all of these things are part of the dark night of the soul that we collectively all enter into in Capricorn season every freaking year. This is not new. The only new thing that sets us apart from the previous Capricorn seasons and the previous solstices is that Pluto, the god of the underworld, the great transformer through death and destruction, through resurrection and renewal, this is the only thing that's different, is that he's in Aquarius energy instead of Capricorn energy. And again, that's only been the last 16 years. Typically speaking, we all feel these things. The collective is feeling these things, which means that individually we're feeling these things. As a light worker, you have an extra exam going on here at the tail end of 2024, which is not only your personal shit that you have to alchemize into something better, but you get the extra added little exam of how much of the collective's darkness can you bear, can you channel, can you alchemize, can you transmute in your physical body without you losing your damn self. Okay, so challenge accepted. Let's link arms. Let's rise up, light workers. We got this. We can do this. We can definitely make a change. But let me just say that our sleep state is going to be wackadoodle because the majority of the collective's energy is unconscious. And when we enter into a sleep state, which is very difficult to do these days, especially with these high potence energies just kind of rattling us and keeping us awake, when we actually are able to enter into a deep sleep, there's a lot to process. And that is due to the fact that, again, the collective's unconscious is alive and well in the astral realm. And those of us that know how to alchemize, that know how to transmute, that are doing the work, even when we're awake and asleep, we have an extra shift to do in our sleep realms this week. Now, because there's a lot of energy kind of flowing here, because Mother Earth, she just went through her kind of, let's call it graduated evolution. A couple weeks back, again, we were having a hard time matching the vibrations and frequencies of Mother Earth and therefore could not ground. That was because of the major shift that she was going through. She is now stabilized a little bit, enough for us to actually be able to kind of ground and adjust to her particular energy. But the feet and the leg cramps, The fear that's trapped in our knees, the fear that's trapped in our ankles, the cold feet that we have about what is to come, all of this is going to be highly intensified here this week. We could have a lot of problems in our lower extremities. Again, Capricorn season rules over the skeletal structure, our bones. And because, the fear level in the collective is alive and well, we hold all of those fear energies in our lower extremities. So that's going to be a major, I'm going to say, ascension symptom, if that's what you want to call it. That's going to be a major focus of the aches, the pains, and the rigidity that I spoke of earlier. Now, I want to talk about the bubble guts for a second, the digestive system for a second. First of all, I think it's a beautiful thing that the moon is in Virgo, ushering us through this particular solstice gateway, earth on earth action. Gotta love that. Staying grounded, staying logical, staying practical, especially in this high potency time of confusion and delusion. That's a beautiful thing. However, the moon in Virgo rules over the digestive system. We typically speaking get the bubble guts when the moon is in Virgo. What I would also say is if you are not sticking to the healthiest of diets, you are going to suffer threefold throughout this week because digestive system, is going through a recalibration for sure. But if you are indulging in the sugary foods, if you are indulging in holiday treats, your central nervous system is going to kick your ass for that. And I would highly recommend that you have the willpower and the discipline, because again, the minute that you start off being able to be disciplined in what it is that you actually put in your body, information, content, and food, that is when you can basically have the power, discipline, and will and control over everything else. It all starts with your ability to kind of monitor what it is that you're putting into the physical form. Digestive issues are definitely going to be popping. Your central nervous system is going to need you to be in a state of power and control so that you don't put it in overload. Because of this, there is also major pressure on the headspace. Our third eye is trying to recalibrate. The crown that is picking up on the collective's energy is overwhelmed. A lot of head pressure, a lot of moving headaches. The sinus issues, look out for dry nose states, but creating like nosebleeds. There's a dryness going on. But yet there's still congestion, there's still liquid, watery snot, there's still ooey gooey snot as well. So it's a little bit of an oxymoronic thing that you could have those two things happening at once, but it is definitely a thing. And of course, if you're indulging in those sweet treats and adding sugar and, dairy and yeast and wheat and all of those beautiful things to your system, especially if it's not used to that, you're creating a mucus shitstorm in your physical form anyway. So that's not going to bode very well on top of the natural energetic ascension system that is, or ascension symptoms that are affecting the sinus cavity, that are affecting, postnasal drip, that are affecting the acid reflux, that are affecting the gut. If you are going to indulge in, fake ass foods and sugary foods and foods that our digestive system is not meant to digest, then you are again amplifying the ascension symptoms that are already organically energy-like symptoms. Okay. So you're just making it worse, basically. So at the end of the day, guys, we have the power and control to lessen these particular, let's call them owies in the physical form. We can do that by, first of all, getting a grip on our mental plane. Second of all, get a grip on our emotions. Third of all, make better decisions. Once you know better, you got to do better. So if you know all this and you still go to the holiday parties, even though I've been saying for at least a month now that this holiday season is supposed to be quiet, supposed to be introverted, supposed to be very small and quaint, and you're still putting yourself out there around a bunch of people, then you're asking for an energetic shitstorm. If you're putting yourself in a situation to be, putting a lot of foreign things into your body that typically speaking aren't normal on your dietary schedule, you are asking for an energetic and ascension and physical aches and pains shitstorm. Again, we are in the final chapter of this exam series. I really want to invite you to rise up, to be better, to do better, and to put into action what it is that you've already learned to be true. So guys, that's all the time that I have for this particular session. Hopefully it was helpful. Hopefully it wasn't too divisive or triggering or activating. Hopefully I don't get this channel suspended after some of the things that I just talked about. At the end of the day, I don't care what you believe in. I don't care what you celebrate. I don't care if you do celebrate, if you don't celebrate. At the end of the day, we are supposed to be working each and every single day, regardless of holiday, regardless on societal construct. We are supposed to be working on being our best, happiest selves, creating in our eyes what heaven on earth would be here in human form. All we have to do is try. So with that being said, I'm going to send you tons of love. Okay, first of all, thank you for the love. Thank you for the support. I'm going to give that all right back to you. And let me also just say that in those moments when you are being triggered and activated, when the heavier thoughts, when the heavier emotions are creeping up within you, I hope to God you hear my voice telling you to boss up. Okay? So I'm sending you tons of love. Let's do what we can to get through this particular, societal construct, this, energetic week. Let's do the best that we can. Let's be the happiest that we can be. And let's give out all of the love. So in true Marley fashion, I thank you for being here. I thank you for showing up for me. I thank you for showing up for yourself. And I'm sending you nothing but love. We'll talk to you soon.